because he dealt with segregation from the other side, from the black point of view.
And they loved it. So where y'all from? Alabama? Oh, I spent 20 years in Alabama one day, you know.
As I said, folks, that was a couple of clips from the TV1 Unsung Hollywood on Dick Gregory that is going to air immediately after News 1 now at 8 a.m. And then, of course, at 9 a.m., as I said, the one-on-one interview that Kathy Hughes conducted with Dick Gregory. Folks, to understand just how fearless Dick Gregory was, again, he was someone who was unafraid to say what others were afraid to say. This is from the same Unsung Hollywood on him. We talked about a phone call he received from President John F. Kennedy. It began with a few pleasantries.
Dick, how are you? How's the family? Okay. Do me a favor, don't go to Alabama. Dr. King is wrong. And I said, shall I call you Mr. President or call you boy? As wrong as you think King is, and I'll grant you he's wrong, and as right as you think you are, he's righter than you, and you wronger than him. I'm going. And I hung up.
My man joining us on the phone from Chicago, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., the founding president, Rainbow Push Coalition, and we continue having Dr. Faye Williams, national chair of the National Congress of Black Women. Also, Rock Newman, longtime friend of Dick Gregory, plus Carl Nelson, Radio 1 talk show host. Reverend Jackson, I want to go to you. You were a young man during the Black Freedom Movement. What did it mean to have someone of Dick Gregory's stature not just send checks, not just be present, but to have presence in the movement?
You know, he had this amazing ability to turn tragedy into laughter. Like, you know, I'm not going to serve Negroes, I don't eat them, that type thing. But in the meantime, he was on the scene. He was a superstar who never behaved like a superstar. He was a super person. Dick was on the trajectory to be the Bill Cosby, the Eddie Murphy, the TV guy, to be acceptable to Hollywood and to Broadway. He gave up all of that in his commitment to the cause. So whether it was time was Malcolm X, Social Carmichael, Dr. King, or Mandela. I remember Dick in '64 was marching in Chicago for open housing and marching for the public education. He was almost too serious to be funny. Yet he remained funny. That was his gift. So I said he made us laugh. He made us fight. He made us live. Dick's issue about Dick was about 300 pounds at one point, you know. And Dick he and Dr. Fulton began to work on diet and water and fasting and praying. Dick was as serious as he was funny. He was very funny.
And it's interesting you talk about that because he was always cognizant when you talk about health. I mean, literally the last time he was on this show, June 23rd. So it was right after he finished. He said, hey, next time you lose this much weight, I want you to call me. He said, looking good. So he wasn't somebody who only focused on the news. He did care about the health and the fitness of black folks as well. So surely, Reverend, I know he had to mess with you because he had no problem saying anything to anybody at any time.
Well, you know, many of the artists become just that. Dick chose his manhood. He chose dignity over dollars. He would have been, quote unquote, the next perceived superstar. He was a super person. Not just a superstar. And so I remember when Dick left Chicago. It was a sad occasion. He left Chicago and moved to Massachusetts, his family in the rural area, to give them a chance to develop. But living and laughter and marching in Mississippi. When Dick went into jail, you know, Dick went to the danger zones. Dick was helped lead the drive against free South Africa, against war in Vietnam. I mean, all of my public life, all my public space, Dick has always been there. Ever since I've been in public space, Dick Gregory has been there as a leader, not just as a guest.
Ambassador Andrew Young, you are also one of Dr.
Good
King's.
morning. How you doing?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jesse, everybody.
You were one of Dr. King's lieutenants. You knew Dick Gregory quite well. He was.
You know, Dick did a couple of things. Dick came to Birmingham in '63, and he went around with us to the bars, and he did his routine on nonviolence to try to make sure that things didn't get out of hand. The other thing is that at Selma, he came down with about 20 boxes of shoe boxes packed up, and they all had vitamins in them. And he gave everybody in the movement practically a shoebox full of vitamins, which lasted for 30 days. He had 30 envelopes in it. And he said, when you run out of these, call Lil, and she'll send you some more. And I've been taking Dick Gregory's vitamins. I took his Bahamian diet. He went down to New Orleans, and I don't know why he decided to fast, but he fasted for 70 days. Then the day he broke his fast, he ate some of his Bahamian diet, drank some of it, and walked from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, which is about 100 miles. I mean, Dick was just a phenomenal human being.
I want to bring in Rock Newman. Rock, you were one of the folks who organized that tribute to Dick Gregory in June, and we talked about the last time he was on this show. Your thoughts about Dick Gregory's impact when it came to civil rights and his commitment to the freedom of black people?
Roland, can we put about a half a dozen capital C's on that word commitment? I was so, it was so warming to hear Reverend talk about what Greg's trajectory was. He was the man. He was the entertainer, the comedian before any of the big black comedians who became black and famous comedians became big or famous. On his way to making untold dollars, his wit, brilliance, and we come back to that word with those half dozen capital C's, commitment. That commitment. He chose humanity over Hollywood. He chose humanity over anything else that might have served his purpose and his family's purpose in terms of economics. For the most part, spending so many years with Greg and being so close to him for extended periods of time, I was able to determine money really didn't mean anything to Greg. And I'm sure Reverend Jackson and Mayor and the mayor, Andrew Young, they would probably all acknowledge that. If Greg got $1 million today, he would probably buy himself a couple of finest suits that man could make, and then he'd give all the rest of it away. It did not matter to him. His humanity and his service to his community and to his people
Rock, hold tight 1 second. I got to go to a break. We come back. More from Ambassador Andrew Young, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., Faye Williams, Carl Nelson, Rock Newman, about the life and legacy of Dick Gregory, one of our legends, not just on the comedy stage, but also when it came to civil and human rights.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh, my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
News 1 Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV 1.